about to make a new mount for this. I bought a new pan to hold it while I soak it. The new mount's going to make it so that I don't have to soak it, but this doesn't quite fit. So I am in the process of hacking off the top of this so that I can fit it in here flat and soak it. For this one, I have it with flattened marbles in the bottom. I'm going to take the flattened marbles out, put this back in, and put water in this one to soak it, because they both need soaking once in a while, even though I've been watering them with an eyedropper. I made these for my little orchids. They're mostly polymer clay. This one has a little bit of charcoal mixed in. This one has some exploded clay, some beads, some rope or cord, some charcoal, a little bit of fabric. Yeah, I think that's it. They both have extra supports in the back. I probably made them 3 or 4 times. It was hard to get this part to stand up. I should have used wire or wood or metal and made an armature first. That would have been intelligent. But once I started, I just kept going and added extra layers and things. The idea is that when I water them, the water can collect in this catch basin here, and then I can put some sphagnum moss so that the water wicks back up to get the plant watered until the water down here runs out. This is the sphagnum moss. Sphagnum moss can give glitter a run for its money. It gets all over and it clings to everything. It's really amazing. On this one, and I meant to do it on both, but I forgot because I got into all the fiddly bits, I made a little watering basin on top. I didn't actually make it the way I had planned. I had planned to make it with several separate chambers all joined at the top, so I could pour some water in, and then each one would drip down. There are holes in the bottom. Each one would drip down in its own time. I'm really happy with how these look, but I'm worried about how they'll function. I did soak them both in water, and then I sprayed them. I kind of squirted some peroxide all over them. My thinking was that I would take this one. Well, let's take a look at it for its health first. I'm a little bit worried because all the tips of the leaves are a little bit dried out. Something odd about them, so I think it might not be as healthy as I'd like. Other than that, the leaves seem quite firm. It seems happy since I transplanted it. I can tilt it on its side and it's nice and steady, so it feels really secure. The reason I transplanted it was I kept on tipping over the container and it kept on falling out. So, so I'm really happy with that. I'm a little bit loath to transplant it again unless I'm sure that it'll be happier in its new home. My thought was that I would put this one in here and tuck it. It has one little root coming out to the side that I could tuck into this little part here, and then tuck a bunch of sphagnum moss around and maybe some wood bark, pine bark. So this one is a vanda, and this one is a dendrobium. I thought this one was interesting when I started to look behind the leaves. Can you see that? I noticed that it has several roots running in parallel, and they kind of reminded me of the wires in integrated circuits. I thought that it would be really interesting to make something that looked like a circuit board and put like little holes with gold or copper so that the roots could go through, and little boxes that would look like integrated circuit chips, and that this thing could be like a living thing that's sort of electronic looking. But I didn't have enough green clay, and I don't know, it just wasn't working out. I may do that. Maybe someday I'll get another one of these and try that. But anyway, this one seems pretty happy. The roots are trying to grow slowly. So my thought here was that this massive stuff would go here, so it'd be a little bit lower, it wouldn't have this much. And then these roots could twine and play in and among this. I sort of think of these as playgrounds for the roots. I don't know if the roots are going to like the polymer clay. I do think that the watering basin and the holes and the dripping down part is going to be really important for this, but I don't actually know if it's going to work. And I don't know if it's going to like polymer clay. I wonder if this one would go here. This one has the one root that would probably fit very nicely in there, along with some sphagnum moss, and I could glue on or maybe wire on a bit of bark. Would that look good? Would it think it would be happy? I don't know if it would be happy there. To see if the sphagnum moss actually, if the wetness actually spreads into the different parts where the roots should grow, because if this is a dry playground, it's not going to be much of a playground. So I think what I'm going to do is go get some sphagnum moss and soak it a little bit and tuck it into places, and then let it dry out, and then water it and see, like water it, put some food color in the water so that I can see whether it actually wicks it up or not. I think I'm going to do that. In each of the holes here I either tucked string or some moss. This one just has a little plug of moss so that when I pour water in here, it won't all drain through that hole right away, but will trickle down each of these. I'll do the test later. I had to wet the moss in order to get it pliable enough to tuck it in. The plant's going to go here, so I wanted to make sure that it would wick both down and up. I tied the string up here. I'm not really sure. I'm hoping that it'll water from the bottom. I put some extra string here and I tucked it around this one. I had to dig a little hole. The plastic needle really helped me get the string in through here and in through the holes. And I put a little extra moss here, and I took some JB Weld, and these things looked a little loose, so I kind of cemented them in. I put both some moss and some string with just one end in the water, and the water's gotten up to here on the moss, and I can feel at least to here is damp on the string, so both the moss and the string do seem to wick the water reasonably well, so I have some high hopes for this. I figure if I use food color will dye animal cells, but it doesn't really dye plant cells very well, so I think it should be safe and it should rinse out of the string because it's cotton string and the moss, and if it doesn't rinse entirely out of the string, I wouldn't mind too much if the string got a little bit darker. That would be okay. So I'll let it dry and then I'll do the test with the food color and we'll see what happens. I took water with yellow food coloring, and in this one I poured it into here and I kind of filled this up. It dripped out of this hole pretty quickly, so I have to decide whether I want to plug up that hole a little bit more. But I look and the moss and all the string is pretty yellow. So I think that worked pretty well. I think it took some time for it to both drip down and come back up. But I think the watering on this is fairly successful. I can't remember whether I glued these on before or after my last recording, but I did take some of the 2-part epoxy while I had it. I stuck on some pine bark just to give it a little more natural material. So next I will take this, soak it in plain water, and then I'll probably spray it or squirt it with peroxide just to make sure everything's clean and any foreign matter is out of here. And then I will consider putting my orchid in here. This one, I poured the water with the yellow food coloring down here, and it crept up this rope pretty well. It crept up this twine pretty well. It did not get up to this part. I will do the same as the other. I'll soak it and I'll spray it or squirt it with peroxide. But when I water any plant I plant here, I'll make sure that I drip a little bit on top. As far as the watering goes, these should both be fairly successful. I'm pretty happy with them. And I know they look kind of funky, but I rather like how they look. I also made this. I took a cardboard from a cereal box and I surrounded the container that holds. I took the cardboard, I coated it with white glue, let it dry, and then I plastered the inside with these canes, plus some other clay. Yeah, I don't think that worked very well. I do like the peacock canes. I don't think they look very good next to the red ones. I also put a layer of white to hold everything in place. Anyway, I made a fatal mistake. I had wrapped the cardboard around and I thought since it surrounded the container that holds the pot that the orchid is in, it should be big enough, but I forgot that when I put these on the inside of the container, there's a certain thickness. The vase doesn't fit inside. It's too small around, so I don't know what I'm going to do with this.